Hello. It's time to chat. I haven't filmed a sit-down chat video in so long. I feel like low-key there's sit-down chats in all of my videos, but dedicated sit-down chat video, it's been a while. But hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is the first time watching one of my videos. I'm staying in this beautiful place at the moment in Kythera in Greece, and I brought my scrapbook with me along this whole trip, and I've been meaning to do scrapbooking for so long, and now that I'm in this space I'm like, this is a perfect time to sit down and scrapbook. I have all of these photos that I printed out months ago that I've been meaning to stick into my scrapbook. I love the process of keeping a scrapbook, and I've been keeping one for the past, I've got 2 so far, so I've done it for the past 2 years, and this is the 3rd one. And I just love the process of having my memories printed and having things tangible rather than having everything in my camera roll. I think it's a really special process, and it helps me like reflect a lot and look back on memories and process things. I think that's my favorite thing about scrapbooking, is it allows me to process things after they've happened, and I can look back and be like, oh, that really meant a lot to me, or like just see things in a different light to the way that you experience things in the moment. We just love a little bit of retrospect and looking back and the nostalgia. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I put a post in my community section on YouTube and asked if anyone had any questions, and some people asked some really good questions, so I've written some down in my journal. I'll try and be structured in the way that I talk in this video, but I think I just want to chat and scrapbook, and we can just hang out here for a bit. So get a tea or a snack. I've got a mint tea and I've got all my memories. Let me take my bangles off because they're bangling, they're jingly jangling. I've got different topics like relationships, which includes friendships and dating, finances, journaling and visualizing, like manifesting things in the future, content creation, my journey with self-love and self-compassion, and travel. So let's see what comes up when we talk about those things. I want to talk about self-love and self-compassion first, because a few people ask questions about how I've gotten to a place where I have, I would say, quite a lot of like self-compassion and self-love, and yeah, just like the journey in getting to that place. And I feel like it was when I broke up with an ex in 2021, and I think that during that relationship, we were together for like 2.5 years, but during that relationship, I didn't have self-love in the way that I think I have self-love for myself now. And I think that going through that relationship, which ended up being a bit, I would say, draining and took a lot of energy from me, I think that at the end of that, I was very anxious, and I remember like towards the end of that breakup was when I started having, it sounds so small, but just having nice showers to myself, and like having a playlist, and having a calm, like unwinding evening routine, and making tea, and doing my skincare. And looking back on it, I do think that that was kind of like the beginning of my journey with like self-love and self-care. And I think that it was a reaction to how shitty I felt in that relationship, and a way for myself to find like comfort and solace. And I guess I realized how those things actually made me feel good. And then after we broke up and I was alone and single, I had more time to like actually show myself love. But yeah, I definitely think that it was a result of being in a situation that didn't feel good, that made me look for things that felt good. And we were also in lockdown at the time, so I couldn't really go out and do stuff and find like external things. I think that COVID and lockdown forced a lot of people to be very like inwards and introspective and reflective, which I think ended up having a lot of positive effects for my well-being, like in the long run. And then I think it's just been like a practice of mine ever since, finding things that feel good and doing them consistently, building routine. But I will say that I think that being able to have self-compassion with myself on the journey of self-love has been a difficult thing, because I think that I've had quite an inner critic and can be very hard on myself and very like judgmental of myself and very like invalidating. And I think that going to therapy and unpacking that and getting to the root of like, why did I have such a negative inner voice, and like, why am I invalidating myself so much, invalidating my ideas and my creativity and my sensitivity, and then unpacking that with my therapist. And when you get to the root of something and it clicks and you have a moment where you're like, oh, of course, that's why I thought like that about myself, or of course, like that makes so much sense, because you just start to put together the pieces in your past and your parents' past and like your parents' past, and like everything just starts to click into place. And you're like, oh my God, generational trauma. And we're all just products of things and products of the ways that we've grown up, and our parents are products of the way that they've grown up, and everyone's just a product of their environment and their upbringing. And I think that going to therapy brought me to a much more of a place of self-compassion. And even with things like exercising, in the past I had such a harsh, like regimented voice in my head that was like, you need to do this, you need to do like, and everything was so serious. Whereas now I feel so much more balanced, and I do things because they feel good, not because I feel like I need to do them, but because I feel like if I do this, I'm going to feel better, and it comes from so much more of a place of love. But I definitely think that having self-compassion is a very difficult thing, especially if you've grown up in environments where maybe you haven't been offered that compassion, and haven't been like modeled that. I think that when it's so much easier to give yourself something if you've been given it in your past, you know? And when you don't have that modeled for you and you kind of have to start from zero, it's so much more difficult. I want to talk about creativity and my creative process and presence and seeing beauty in the mundane and those sorts of things. I was thinking about that this morning when I went for a run. I was kind of running and then I'd be walking, and I was thinking, oh, this is like, going for walks is actually so nice, because you can be walking and getting so like lost in your own thoughts and in your mind. But then in an instant you can like look around you if you're in nature and just be like, oh wow, like everything's so much bigger than me. My thoughts, I was lost in my thoughts. Like, wow, look at all of this around me. I was listening to this podcast the other day, the On Being podcast with Krista Tippett, and it was her episode with Rick Rubin, and he's written that great book, The Creative Act. I've only read a little bit of it, but everything that I read I really resonated with. And I love what he says about attunement and creativity being something that it's like a frequency that you can tune into, and it's like ubiquitous, it's all around us, but it's about being receptive to receiving what's all around, because everything is always all around. Like the beauty, the nature, the magnificence of the world is always around us, but it's up to us to like fine tune the instrument of our mind, of our soul, to be in tune with that, so that we can like distill things from it and create from it. And so I don't think that I have like necessarily a certain specific creative process, like something where I'm like, I do this and then I do this and then I do this. It's just like going outside and noticing things, slowing down and paying attention, and allowing yourself to like take time and not feel like pressured and rushed all the time and like everything has to be fast. And I think that's why I like to meditate and stretch and journal and read and even scrapbook, because all of those things sort of put you into a pace that's a bit slower. And I think that when you regularly put yourself in like slower paced situations and activities, then like over time, I think that that's just becomes the way that you experience the world. At least that's how I feel. But then I do also feel myself, if I'm in a period of like real busyness and I feel like I'm really like hustling and trying to do this and that, I feel myself slip out of that like real groove of like creativity and seeing things and like paying attention. But I think that they're both like necessary in a way. I think that they both feed one another. I feel like my most creative moments are often in the evening when I've had a shower and I'm in bed with my tea and my journal and my candles, and I've got some like calm tunes playing, either like Sheldon King or Diana Lopez or Chantra Sheba. And I'll just be listening to music, chilling, maybe smoke a joint sometimes. And then I'll have my journal in my lap usually, and I'll start writing. And I genuinely don't know how to explain it. I don't think that it's something that can be explained, but like ideas will just come to me, and I'll sit and I'll just close my eyes sometimes and just like allow the ideas to come, and then like write things down. It doesn't feel like something I'm doing. It feels like something that is going through me, and I'm just like, oh yes, of course, and then I write it down, and I'm like, and then I go back and I look through my ideas, and then I'll like distill things down into like actual like tangible things. Like if it's a video I'm creating, then I'll like close my eyes and I'll just be like imagining the scenario, the scene that I'm going to create, and I literally would just have like a vision would just pop into my mind, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, that's the scene. I think that journaling has been such a key like part to my creativity, and also like achieving things and manifesting, and just like following what I want and being clear with things, because I've been journaling since I was like the earliest journals that I've kept in my box of journals. I've got journals from 2015. But I was journaling before that, I just don't have the journals with me. But like consistently, I would say I've been journaling since 2015. And I've got so many books, so many past thoughts to read back on. And I read back on my journals quite often. Usually when I'm at home, because I don't have all my past journals with me now that I'm traveling. I took one old journal with me. This is just from the start of this year. And I just took this so I could do my scrapbooking. But yeah, I really love looking back through my past thoughts, because I think that often the past can become really like an illusion and kind of like half fiction when we just like think about things that have happened and think about how we felt in moments. It's always like a projection of how we feel in the present. And so when I read back on my journals, I'm like, oh, that's how you were feeling. And sometimes I shock myself. I'm like, oh, really? Like, is that what you were thinking? Is that what you were feeling? Because my memory of that that's not how it was. And I also get a lot of inspiration from my past self and from my past thoughts and ideas. And sometimes I'll read back on my journals and I'm like, oh, I needed to hear that now. I also read back on some of my past journals and I'm like, oh, you had really good ideas and you were really smart and like in tune. And often when I think about my past self, I think I'm just can be very critical, and I'm like, girl, you didn't know shit. And then I read back on my journals and I'm like, oh, you were really onto something there, or like that was a really good idea, or that was really beautiful. And so I think that I can look back on my journals now with a bigger sense of compassion for my past self, and it feels really, really sweet. But in terms of my actual practice with journaling, I never use journal prompts. I'm really not a journal prompts gal. I always have just written freely, and I'll start off saying like how I'm feeling in the moment. Maybe we'll read some past journal entries together. So okay, this is one page that I've opened to. I always start with like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and I'll write the time and the date. So this one says good morning, 10 a.m, 8th of February 2024. Bit of a sleepy, slow morning today. The rain pouring down when I woke up felt like the gentle arms of a lover wrapping around me in the morning, and so naturally I was consumed by my sheets. And then it goes to the next paragraph. Sitting at the altar with a green tea and calendula, gazing at the green trees outside, grateful. Happy with the video I've just posted and looking forward to editing another today. I have lots of ideas at the moment with YouTube. I want to do a what I eat in a week video monthly too. That was an idea that I never brought to life. This is the thing with creativity as well. I think that I have a lot of ideas that I get really invested in, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'll like do a whole like A3 brainstorm of like how this video is going to look and like what I'm going to do. And then I don't do it because I'll get carried away with another idea, which I don't know, I think it's just the nature of things. But I had this whole idea. I'll do it in the future. to do these like what I eat in a week videos, and I had like the whole graphics planned out, and I was really excited about it. I remember talking with my mom, and I was like, I'm gonna call it this, and it was a whole thing, and so in the future. But that was what I was excited about on the 8th of February. I'm thinking about going to Sydney next month to see Yusuf Days. I'm thinking ... would I like to go to Sydney or Melbourne for a month and sublet? But then also Bali in March. But Vietnam, ? But also buying a car and getting my own place. Maybe I stay here for February and March and try and hustle and make money. Try to save 10K. Then my place, ? I think I want to travel a little before getting a place. I aim to get a place January to March. Saving, figuring out work, living at home, small trips to Sydney and Melbourne, buying a car. Just like my mind was firing this morning, and I didn't do any of that. I did not go to Sydney or Melbourne for a month and sublet. I did not go to Bali in March, and I did not go to Vietnam, and I did not get my own place. I did buy a car, and I did save, and now I'm traveling, but things just didn't happen the way that I thought that they would. Let's keep reading. This is fun. So, and then we've got, okay, so this is that evening now at 10:30 p.m. Watched an episode of a documentary tonight, which felt amazing. I felt that sense of inspiration / empathy / understanding. This is what I want to immerse myself amongst. I had this subtle yet deeply rooted sense of gratitude after watching that documentary. I also felt a strong desire and will to create the life I want for myself. I was like, what do I want? I do this quite often. I like sit down with myself and I'm like, what do you want? I did it the other day and it's always different. It would be fun to make a little journal of pages of all the times I've written lists of what I want, because I think it does change quite frequently, but then there are also things that really stay stable throughout that, and I'm like, oh, those are the things you really want. And then I continue. The world is going to be bogging you down. We are given the cards we are given. I'm so grateful for mine. Pursuing dreams is a blessing. To be disciplined is a blessing. To have routine is a blessing. To exercise is a blessing. To eat healthily is a blessing. I am so blessed. My cup runneth over every single day of my existence. I can't wait to continue to learn and grow and evolve. I think that all of my journal entries usually have a huge sense of gratitude in them, because that's something I feel really a lot in life is gratitude, and I think that really propels me forward. So some of my journal entries will be very intense and like, what do you want? What is this future looking like? And then sometimes my journal entries are more like just reflective and in the moment. But I will say that I think that those are two different states that I have. This like when I'm in this space of like I'm really dreaming and I have all of these ideas and I have this huge sense of longing, and then so I feel like that was me at the start of the year when I was living at home, and then I was saving and I was just like, I had such a clear idea of like what I wanted and I wanted to get there. And then I quit my job and I went overseas and my YouTube started growing and I was able to work remotely, and that felt like me really stepping into my dreams and the ideas that I had and like what I wanted. And when I'm in that space of like, oh, I'm living my dreams, I'm in the Pinterest board. I am the Pinterest board now. My journal entries, I think, are so much more calm and not like, what do you want? Okay, let's go to a random page. Okay, this was when I was in Essaouira last month on the 19th of September. And I said, it's so crazy, in brackets, for lack of a better word, how there is so much love and so much beauty in the world, and it permeates so deeply into my being. It's so hard letting it all pass. I know it's necessary and it's all a part of the process, but it's like everything is awash with melancholy. It's both beautiful and painful that life is a continual process of inhaling and exhaling, the dance of living with an open heart full of love to give and receive, and also understanding that all moments, no matter how deeply they imprint on your heart, are temporary. But the gratitude is what remains. Gratitude is a sustaining source of love. It is what love leaves in its wake. As the waves recede, gratitude glimmers on the shoreline as a reminder of the beauty that has graced the shore and as a welcome to the beauty that is yet to come. Because I love when I'm at the beach and the sun is shining and the waves come in and out, and as the waves go out and the sunlight glistens on the water, and I was thinking how like experience and like love and these things that like kind of come and go, I think, are like the waves, and then the glimmer on the shoreline is like the gratitude that remains, and it's both like a reminder that something has passed and gone, but it's also about to welcome in a new wave and a new like wash on the shore and new experiences and new love. And that's what I was trying to express in that journal entry. And that's what I mean when I think I sometimes start writing, and then I wasn't intending to write that, and I also wouldn't have said that if someone said, oh, how do you feel right now? I wouldn't have said that. But when I pick up the pen and I start writing, it just comes. And I don't feel like I'm in control of writing those things. And sometimes my journal entries will be very short as well, just a few lines. Like this was one from earlier this month, sitting on this stone windowsill, listening to reggae and burning amber incense. The sun is shining and I feel its gentle touch on my cheek. I was laying in bed and had this realization that I haven't felt that silly, really fun feeling in a while. And so we dance. The answer, the key to joy. So yeah, sometimes they're short, sometimes they're just little snippets of what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. But those are also like the gateways to, oh, I remember that moment, like the things that you forget. And then when you remember, like, I don't know, the tea you were drinking or what you were eating or what the weather was like, then you get like transported back to those moments. And that also puts you into more like attunement with the way that things are and the way that you're experiencing things, which I think then feeds into like creativity and just like paying more attention. I haven't really been scrapbooking, but we've just been chatting. Clearly, multitasking is not really possible. I want to talk about finances quickly because I've got a few questions about spending, saving, traveling. I think I'm not great with my finances. I think I need a financial advisor. And I think that my mindset with finances is it'll work out, which I think is not very responsible. Like last year when I went overseas, I spent all my money because I wasn't working really. I was just trying to make YouTube videos, but I wasn't making any money from YouTube. But I just felt like I wanted to pursue this like vision that I had of like living in London. And I was lucky that I could live with my grandma at the time, so I didn't have to pay rent, which is a huge, huge, huge help. Like when you don't have to pay rent, you can save so much more money. And I think that that's how I save money, because when I would go to London, I would stay with my grandma or my auntie. And then in Australia, my mum lives in Australia. I grew up there, so I go and stay at home. So I think that I just sacrifice having my own space, which is also something that I want so bad. And every time I write these lists of like, what do you want? It's always, I want my own space. But I think that the want of like this freedom that I have at the moment kind of outweighs that want for having my own space. And I also want to do it in a way that feels right for me. I don't just want to like, I don't know, move somewhere and rent and then not be happy. And then when I'm traveling, I think that travel actually is like something that feeds into my work, because now I'm able to make YouTube videos. And I think that making YouTube videos when I'm overseas and this like journey that I'm on makes good videos. And then more people watch my videos and more people find my channel. And then I'm able to get more brand partnerships and actually make money from YouTube. So I think that traveling actually ends up helping me make money. But I don't think that I can give financial advice because I don't think that I think I need financial advice. But now that I'm able to work while I'm overseas, I don't feel like stressed and worried about money like I did last year. I feel like I've been talking for ages, guys. I'm getting tired. My social battery is drained and I'm talking to myself. Relationships, friendships, dating. Big topic. I would say that I've never really like dated, like intentionally been like, I'm going to try and date and use apps and find love. I have never done that. I think that when I've dated, it's been just things that have like serendipitously come into my life, or like, which I think is really nice, because then it's like you have a story of how you met, and it just feels like, oh, this was meant to be. And I think that I would like to have a partner and be with somebody, but I don't know, I feel like I'm at a point in my life right now where I don't really feel like sacrificing and compromising on like the freedom that I have built for myself. I'm really just enjoying my life and living, and being with somebody and finding like solid love doesn't feel like a huge priority to me right now. And I do want to have a family, and I do want to have kids in the future. But I don't know, I just feel like things will happen when they happen. And I think I've gone through more periods of like longing for romantic love in the past, but I usually feel like that when I don't feel as fulfilled in myself and in my own path and like what I'm doing, and in my friendships as well. Like at the moment I feel really, really like I have a lot of love in my life through like my friendships and my family, and I don't know, I feel like I have a lot of sources of love, and I don't feel like something is lacking. And I also have so much gratitude for the people that I have loved and dated in the past, because I think that when we date people, we learn so much from one another through connection. And I've had a couple of dating experiences in the past couple of years, like only short-term things, but I feel like I've gained so much depth and like been so expanded by those experiences, even if they were short term and even if they have ended. I still hold a lot of love for people that I have loved in the past, even if relationships weren't necessarily like super aligned, or even if things were slightly toxic. I think that I've been able to learn a lot about myself through all of the romantic experiences I've had. And with friendship, I don't really have like a friendship group, like a core group. I think that most of my friendships are quite individual. I like having my individual friends and people that I really can get to know, and we just like spend really nice quality time together, because I think quality time is like one of my main love languages. I'm gonna sit here, do some scrapbooking, but I want to just listen to some music and zone out. I'm like, it's too many words right now. But I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching, and thank you for allowing me to share all of the experiences that I have, and for receiving them, and for like being a part of my own journey of growing up and traveling and like finding myself. And yeah, I'm so grateful that I get to share my life in the way that I do, and that me sharing my life can be a source of like inspiration and growth for other people. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.